December 20th, 2022. Do not adjust your screen. You are not seeing double. There might be two Shahs on the screen right now. I am super excited to be joined. Yes, fist pumping. I'm super excited to be joined by Pinky Shah with Pinky Mortgage and Fairway Mortgage. Good morning, Pinky.
Good morning.
For those of you who don't know, in addition to being just a mortgage rock star and just a general rock star in general, Pinky's also my wife. So it'll be 23 years for us in August.
And he's
And
not biased at all.
no, that's a little bit of a bias there too. But fun fact is, we call this Shah Planet. You actually have double the amount of Shahs, but Pinky was a Shah before we actually got married. For those of you who are of Indian descent or specifically Gujarati descent, you know that that's not really an indication of our family. So nothing crazy like that going on there. But Pinky did sit behind me in homeroom for 3 out of the last 4 years. But one of the things that I was fond of saying, and I still say it every once in a while, is after we got married, I actually took on Pinky's last name. So yes, I moved.
Yes.
How do you feel about that?
Love it.
Of
Love
course,
it.
of
Or
course.
E. Yes.
Yeah. And I didn't have to buy the naming rights Shah Planet from Pinky either.
Absolutely. And my paperwork was super easy at marriage. So I'm
Yeah.
not complaining.
Yeah. No, it's too late to complain right now anyway. So we're super excited, and thank you everybody for joining us this morning. Just a really quick sort of, I had a bunch of birthday messages that came to me, and since this is on social media and it's out there that it's my birthday, it was my birthday. So thank you for everybody who sent out those really, really sweet birthday messages. I can't believe I'm already 39. It's amazing. Yeah, I know. It's
You
bad
look
when you
so
got
good for 39.
it's bad when you got to lie about being 39. Like that's not even like I could have shot a lot higher than that too. But listen, one of the reasons I asked Pinky to be on this morning, and we're hearing this often and often again. So we always have these sort of like things that our parents tell us, like if you drink coffee at too young of an age, it's going to stun your growth. A big thing growing up for us was like if you cut your nails, you're not supposed to cut your nails at night. That was a big thing. I don't know if that's a uniquely Indian thing or if it's just one of those things that people tell you don't cut your nails at night. I suspect it's because it's dark and they're afraid you're going to hurt yourself. Somebody else told me it was because like when you cut your nails, it might fly into your food. So there's other sort of things that go in there too. But another thing that we've generally accepted, more modern, if you will, is that when the Federal Reserve raises its interest rates, your mortgage rates are also impacted. So when a lot of us will just hear in the news, the rates have gone up. And you know how I feel about the news. If not, DM me, I'll tell you about it later. But a lot of us will hear in the news, hey, the rates have gone up, the rates have gone up. And we equate that with like, hey, that means our mortgage rates are going to go up. So Pink, I'm going to ask you, like a lot of folks will just say, hey, my rates have gone up because the federal rates have gone up. And then it starts impacting and people start having questions about their home. Does that mean that my mortgage rates have gone up? Take it away.
No, I know it's a common misconception that when the Fed raises the funds rate, that's the mortgage rate. But what the Fed's raising is the overnight funding rate from bank to bank, the overnight lending rate. Mortgage rates are a 30-year rate, right? So usually for most people, it is not the same thing at all. There's some impact, but not really. What really drives interest rates, if I could share, because I don't think a lot of people know this.
Yeah, I think it's huge. I mean, and look, hold that thought. Look, it's important. Even there's going to be people out there who say, "I don't have a mortgage; it doesn't impact me." Well, then you might have this large home, which is a large asset that you might want to borrow against at some point. So that impacts you. Or just as you answer this, if you could also incorporate this into your answer, like I've got this mortgage right now, and it's either adjustable or it's at a certain rate, but yet the Federal Reserve or not the Federal Reserve mortgage rates are at a certain rate. So how does that all impact? So yeah, how does the Fed Reserve tie in with the mortgage rates?
Yeah. So before I get into how the Fed Reserve ties it, let me back up just a second and explain what actually drives interest rates, right? They're driven by inflation. And inflation, I know everyone knows it, but just to simple explanation is inflation is too many dollars chasing too few goods, right? And so, and the reason that impacts mortgage rates is because if, for example, I have a mortgage and I'm the mortgage lender and I've given you a mortgage and you pay me $1,000 a month. You pay me $1,000 a month for most people take it for 30 years. So for 30 years, I know that I'm getting $1,000 a month. Now, if the inflation is high and I've got a list of 20 things that I buy with that $1,000 a month, we all know that if the inflation rates are high, I cannot buy the 20 things anymore. I can only buy 10 or 15, depending on how high the inflation goes. So as inflation, and there's some amount of the basic inflation rates are built into mortgage rates, right? So that's expected and accounted for. But when inflation is high, like it is right now, and has been, then the lender has to adjust their interest rate so they can continue to buy the 20 things on their list that they intended to do with that. And so that's why mortgage rates tend to go up when inflation is high. So as inflation comes down, as the Fed is, and this is where the Fed comes in, right? They're trying to curb that inflation. Then we start seeing mortgage rates come down.
Gotcha. So, okay, so let's kind of like sort of put this into action right now, given that we're not expecting inflation to slow down dramatically, but the Federal Reserve has said, okay, we're going to increase rates, but we might slow down the rate at which we're going to increase them because inflation is being impacted right now. So if you are an individual who's looking to either buy a home or buy an investment property or do something with a mortgage over the next, what do I mean, we don't have a crystal ball. This is the closest thing we have to a crystal ball, right? So what is that crystal ball that we don't have telling us about what to expect with respect to the housing market in general and just mortgage rates as a little more specifically? And what do you do with that? Like timing wise, we're at the holidays, it's the end of the year, there's a cycle to it. So what can you share about the real estate market and just mortgages in general? What should we know going into the new year?
Oh, so much, but I would say, let's start with the Fed's actions of raising the Fed fund rate. The intention is to curb inflation. They're making the cost of borrowing money more expensive. An interesting fact, in the US, 6 out of $7 spent are on credit. So as the Fed makes it more expensive to borrow, people are making different decisions, and they're trying, the goal is that they're trying to limit the number of dollars going to chase those goods, right? So that's why inflation is coming down. And so it has been, the last 2 readings, November, December, were better, lower. So that's a sign. And we saw an impact on mortgage rates. Mortgage rates did come back down from their crazy highs that we reached of 7, and relative, of course, right, to the past decade. So what right now we're expecting is that over the next year, mortgage rates, inflation should be curbed and mortgage rates should continue to come down. As that happens, as far as the housing market goes, people that have been holding out are going to want to come back into the market. So an expression that we have in the lending world is marry the house, date the rate. So it's actually a really good time to make a purchase.
Marry the house, date the rate.
Yes. I think there's a golden opportunity that we have right now, because everyone has it with the holidays, as you mentioned. Typically, the winter is a slower season, so there's not as many people out shopping for homes. So you are more likely to be able to actually have time to make your decision on which home you want and possibly negotiate with the seller, because they don't have 20 offers. When the rates do come back into the 5s, buyers are going to come back, and we might go back to that like 20, 30 offers on a home. So you may not be able to, and you can't do anything about that. You can't say, I want the price from last year at this point, right? You can't do that. But if you bought the house now, you can go refinance in 6 months or a year and get that lower rate.
Awesome, practical, specific advice. Thank you.
Yeah.
So you are officially our first guest on Shah Planet, and it's fitting that it be another Shah, of course. Yeah, so fantastic job. Thank you for giving us such practical, actionable advice. Marry the house, date the rate. When you got the asset owned, you can still do things in the future to maneuver what you're doing from a rate perspective. So, that way you're not as subject to what's going on in the world. Well, this has been awesome. And as we get closer and closer to the holidays, for those of you who are taking time off, taking time with your family, those of you who don't do podcasts with your family, I hope you enjoy the holiday season, and I hope you stay safe, stay warm, and I'm looking forward to having a brand new year with brand new adventures. We will be back next week, so you're not done with me yet for this year. Thank you again for joining Shah Planet. Thank you again, Pinky Shah with Pinky Mortgage and Fairway Mortgage. If you guys have any questions for Pinky, you know how to reach out to her directly, or you can always reach out to her through me. I might have a contact to get in touch with her. All right, guys, be well, be safe. Thank you again.